We are going to unite and level up, bringing together the whole of this incredible United Kingdom, taking us forward, unleashing the potential of the whole country.
Hi folks, so welcome to another edition of People's PMQs.
And to that end, we will build back better, build back greener, build back faster. Welcome everybody to People's PMQs. It's great to have you here, and thank you for joining me. I know that the issue that's uppermost in a lot of people's minds is the roadmap out of COVID, the cautious but irreversible roadmap that we've tried to set out, which we hope we'll be able to stick to, explaining how we get out of lockdown and on a one-way road to freedom. But I know you've got some questions, so let's fire away, and let's go to Lisa in Oxford.
Hi. Many of us in the UK live at considerable distance from our loved ones, including in devolved nations with different rules, and we cannot look forward to coffee on a park bench or meeting in gardens. Realistically, we will not be able to meet in person with our families until at least the 17th of May. What do you say to those families? Will the government consider introducing exemptions to the ban on indoor visits on compassionate grounds, as Wales previously has, so that we can support loved ones in hardship and distress?
Well, Lisa, I think I understand what you're getting at. What you're saying there is that you would like to be able to stay overnight earlier than the 17th of May, and you'd like to be able to travel to do that. I totally get that, because at the moment what the roadmap is looking at is people be able to meet up either two households or in the rule of six in outdoor spaces or in private gardens, and so clearly with no overnight stays from at that stage. And look, I get that, Lisa. I think the difficulty simply is that we're trying to reduce the spread of the virus, and although there's been a lot of progress, and I sympathise very much with the point that you make about the need to be compassionate and to understand people's particular circumstances and the hardships that people have had to endure, and it has been really, really tough for many people who have not been able to see loved ones in the way that they want. And I deeply sympathise, Lisa, with the point that you make. But we have to come up with an approach that we think will keep the virus under control and not allow too many people simply to mingle indoors in a way that could lead to another resurgence. And if you look at the numbers at the moment, you've still got almost as many people in hospital as there were at the April peak last year. You still have hundreds of people dying every day, very sadly, and the rate of infection, although it is low, or it's been coming down, it's still high by the standards of last year. And we've seen with this virus how it can simply take off again. So that's why we want to have a cautious but irreversible approach. And that's why we've got the timetable that we have, Lisa. And we're going to stick with it, because we believe that it's rolling out this timetable plus the vaccinations. And as you know, we've vaccinated, I think, almost 19 million people now in the UK. 1 in 3 adults, more than 1 in 3 adults have now been vaccinated. That's accelerating the whole time, and that is really offering us the confidence and the certainty that this timetable is the one that will work. So we're going to stick with it, Lisa. But I fully understand the sacrifice that people have made. All I'm saying is that we're just asking for people to hang on for a few weeks longer so we can vaccinate even more people. Thanks very much, Lisa. And I'm sorry if that's a disappointing answer, but I'm going to go to Alison in Solihull.
Good evening. The government seems to accept that with each relaxation of lockdown measures, there may be an increase in cases in the R number. What does this mean for more COVID variants emerging, and therefore the potential efficacy of vaccines?
Alison, that's a very important question, because I think what you're getting at there is the scientific thesis that if the disease increases, then the potential for variants also increases, and the diseases are more likely to mutate the more cases there are. And I think that is possibly right. I think it's, I mean, it certainly seems to be what the scientists are saying. That's why we've got to keep it under control and keep that disease coming down in any way that we can. We've got to accept that things like opening schools will lead to an increase in the overall budget of risk, and that's why we've got to move forward in a cautious way, timing our moves with the rollout of the vaccination program. And on your point about the new variants and new vaccines, the first thing to say is that we think that our vaccines are useful against all the variants that we've currently seen. Or let me put it another way around. We don't have any evidence that they're not effective against all the variants in driving down serious disease and death. The question is how much they do that. That's the issue that we're still looking at. We still need to look at more data. But what we also know is that we're able to develop new vaccines, new variant vaccines, to fight the new variant viruses, and that is possible, particularly with the mRNA vaccines, but also with the we believe that the Valneva vaccine will be useful against many types of variant. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be useful in that respect as well. And Oxford AstraZeneca are also capable of varying their vaccine quite rapidly within a matter of weeks to defeat new variants. So we're on it the whole time, and I think that science is gradually increasing its grip on this problem. But it's going to take weeks and months to get there. That's why we need to advance in this cautious timetable that we've set out. Thank you, Alison. Let's go to Daniel in Sheffield. You need to unmute.
Sorry about that, Prime Minister. Good evening, Prime Minister. With the current roadmap set out in place and school set to reopen on March the 8th, how likely do you think it is that we will have to put the brakes on and either revert to the tiered system or revert to another national lockdown?
Daniel, I don't think it is likely. I think there is obviously there's always a risk that this virus can take off again in ways that we haven't foreseen. Remember the new variant in the run up to Christmas. We suddenly detected it in the Kent area, and it just kept expanding and kept taking off in the way that it did. I can't rule anything out, but everything I've seen suggests to me that we are gradually getting on top of it, and we'll be able to deal with it with the vaccination program that we have. So I would say that the chances are very good that we'll be able to advance on the timetable that we have set out. But it is very important that people should understand that it's a not before series of dates, of deadlines, and we will want to advance cautiously. And I think I've just been talking to a load of businesses across the UK, and they are content. That's an approach they'd rather see. They'd rather see a lot of certainty in exchange for some haste. Daniel, thank you very much. Let's go to Julie in Bridgewater.
Good evening, Prime Minister. Why is rapid testing being offered only to companies with over 50 employees? Isn't it unfair for all the smaller businesses who have less than 50 employees but have worked tirelessly for the last 12 months to keep their staff safe and employed?
Well, first, Julie, I want to thank your business, you and everybody else, indeed all businesses, for the heroic way they've been enduring this this pandemic and the way you kept going. And I know it's been incredibly tough. We're doing our best to look after you. We'll continue to do so. Rishi will be producing another budget for business and for jobs next week and a way forward out of the pandemic. On what we want to, on testing, we want to support you with lateral flow testing. We have many millions of tests available. If your business is below a certain size, then you can go to a local testing hub where you can get hold of lateral flow tests. We'll make sure that you get them and you're able to deploy them for your employees, for everybody who needs them in the business. I mean, the thing to understand about lateral flow tests is that where they really come into their own is if you take them, if you do it every day, they're very good at picking up whether you've got the disease without having the symptoms. They're helpful in showing that. And don't forget, 1 in 3 people who has COVID doesn't have symptoms, and that's one of the things we didn't spot at the outset, and which allowed the disease to get going in the way that it did. So testing hubs, I think, Julie, would be the answer for you, and make sure that there's go on the web, find out where your local testing hub is, and they should supply you with the lateral flow kits that you need. Thank you. Let's go to Claire in London.
Good evening, Prime Minister. I have a 5-month-old son who has been unable to meet our family and friends who live all across the country. How far is it acceptable for us to travel at each of the planned phases of the roadmap, whilst complying with the social distancing rules associated with each?
Thanks very much, Claire. And in a way that's a kind of, I think it's a question so many people are asking at the moment. Lisa was on the same sort of point, because we want to be able to allow people to meet, but from March the 29th, we want more freedom for people to meet in groups of 6 or 2 households. But clearly, from that period, you're not really allowed to do an overnight stay. You're not allowed to do an overnight stay. So the assumption is that it'll be a local meeting. The overnight stays really happen from May the 17th, and where you have household mingling, as we put it in the jargon. Now that happens from May the 17th. So, Claire, again, I know that sounds like a long time to wait, and I know exactly how you feel, and it has been a long time, and people desperately want to see their families again. I do understand that. So, we're going as fast as we can. I just think we've got to be cautious, and I think that I'm going to repeat the point I've made earlier. Certainty beats haste in this thing, and we have some good deadlines, some good dates to look forward to. Thanks, Claire. Let's go to Jessica in Liverpool.
Good evening. My question is, how will the government support the NHS to get through all the waiting lists for operations and treatments that have been delayed due to COVID? And how long are those people that are suffering and in pain expected to wait for the treatment that they need that's not been deemed essential through the pandemic?
Jessica, thank you. Well, one of the most important things is that people who need treatment and who haven't been getting the treatment that they need, whether it's for cancer or heart or whatever, or treatments of all kinds, you should go. The NHS is there for you, and you should go to your cancer treatment or whatever it happens to be. We don't want people staying away because they're worried about the hospital, worried about the NHS right now. We want people to get treatment, but clearly, Jessica, you are right. There are many people now who have not been able to get the treatment they need, or who haven't got it. There is a big backlog, and that's one of the huge priorities of this government. We've put another £52 billion into the NHS just this year. Huge investments in the NHS, and will be wanting to make sure that we're supporting the NHS to deal with those backlogs. So we've got, I think, another 14 or 15,000 more nurses already than there were this time last year. I think the nurses recruitment is off the scale. We're looking at huge numbers of recruitment nurses coming forward. I think we've got 6,000 more doctors, and we'll continue to invest to make sure that we have the capacity, Jessica, to bust the backlog and to give people the treatment they need. But I can't stress how this point enough. It is so important that people get the pandemic down, get the numbers of patients down in the COVID patients down. If you reduce the number of COVID patients, then of course you open up, you free up capacity in the NHS to deal with those vital cases and to deal with cancer and all the other backlog that we've built up. And that's why we've got to follow the roadmap that we've set out, continue to observe all the disciplines that you know about, get the cases down, and help the NHS. I'm afraid you'll have heard that message before, but it's still true. Anyway, listen, I think I've tried to answer all of your questions tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining this edition of People's PMQs. There you go. I'm looking at this camera now. Hi, folks. There you go. Thank you, everybody, for joining this edition of People's PMQs. I hope you found it informative. I know that listening to some of the excellent questions tonight, I know that people are reasonably and rightly both anxious about the disease, but also, of course, impatient to see loved ones as soon as we all can. That date is coming closer and closer the whole time. And I hope that at least we've now got some certainty about the way ahead, and everybody can see that we've got a cautious but irreversible route to freedom, a one-way journey to freedom. That's what we're trying to achieve, and that's what we've set out on. Thank you all very much. Good night.
আলোতে থাকুন, ফোকাসে থাকুন, হাত রাখুন প্রজন্মের হাতে।